We all know how unfair the modern dating markets have gotten in 2023, especially right now, that the majority of it, if not almost all of it, have moved online with social media sites like Instagram and multiple dating apps like the most popular being Tinder, Hinge, OkCupid, and all of the good stuff. This resulted in a huge shift in the dating dynamics, with average men barely getting anything, the top 20% of men getting almost everything, and the women getting all of the matches no matter what her level of attractiveness is. She can be a negative 3 in looks, but she will get hundreds of dates. Trust me, these experiments have been done before by playing with fire, where an overweight, unattractive girl still managed to get more likes than a male model. Do with that information as you please. And like always, I can't just bring information out of thin air. We will look at what data we have available to us when it comes to this subject. I will try and split this video into multiple parts to make it easier to structure and write. Part 1. Women rate 80% of men as below average. Part 2. The top 10% of men get 58% of women's likes in online dating. Part 3. Men like 61% of female profiles, women like only 4.5% of male profiles. 4. Average women receive 15 times as many matches as average men on Tinder. Part 5. The Tinder algorithm. If you want to support the channel and get your face evaluated by me with personalized look max and advice, link will be down in the description. Without further ado, let's get this video started. So anyone with a half-working brain knows that women are far more picky when it comes to dating in terms of physical attractiveness, being your face, height, and body, plus your status and all of the other good stuff. And they got even more pickier in this modern day and age of dating. But as for us men, our standard seems to have dropped. In 2009, the dating site OkCupid published a blog article titled Your Looks and Your Inbox, which analyzed the messaging patterns of their user base broken down by sex and looks. They found that while men rated women on roughly a bell curve distribution centered around average, women rated 80% of men as below average. This data was further analyzed for the book Dataclysm 2014 by OkCupid founder Christian Rudder, providing a more detailed graphing of the original data demonstrated below, converted to a 0 to 10 rating scale. Christian Rudder expounded on his findings in an interview in 2014. Many in the manosphere took the blog article as evidence of hypergamy and the 80-20 rule. It is, however, not as straightforward. The article further mentions that 2/3 of male messages go to the best-looking third of women. So basically, guys are fighting each other 2-for-1 for the absolute best-rated females, while plenty of potential charming, even cute girls go unwritten. Further, women shift their expectations only just slightly ahead, which is a healthier pattern than guys. However, they did not quantify this difference. Another study based on an unspecified online dating website by Brush and Newman in 2018 did quantify this and found no sex difference, with both men and women aiming 25% higher than their own SMV on average. Birch and Newman also found that only a few excessively high, which is in agreement with the observation made by K. Grammer. If she is too attractive, he might consider his chances low and accordingly refrain from courting in order to save face. Women's tendencies to rate men as less attractive may rather stem from women's greater parental investment, which causes them to be more risk-averse and look more for flaws in a potential partner and an overall lower sex drive. This reluctance may also be born from a subconscious fear that complimenting a male could be perceived as sexual interest, hence making themselves accountable for their initiation, making it harder to reject the male on the grounds of creepiness. Women generally despise initiation relationships. Possibly for this reason, having more dating options to choose from, women can also afford to be choosy and critical. One important fact that was omitted from OkCupid's blog article is that men receive substantially fewer messages, which was also replicated by Brush and Newman. Rudder found that women receive 7 to 8 times as many messages per week as men, even though the sex ratio of active users is roughly equal. In the second graph below, one can see that this roughly holds true across all percentiles of looks. An analysis of the slope suggests that both men and women care roughly to the same extent about look, in line with Brush and Newman. But women are overall much more passive in their dating behavior. The least attractive woman receives as many messages as way above average men, and the number of messages the least attractive men receive is very small, just about 0.3 to 0.4 messages per week. The least attractive women receive 1 to 2 messages per week. If there is a lowest threshold of attractiveness below which waiting for an opportunity in online dating is practically futile. This will certainly affect unattractive men much more than unattractive women. This difference in amount of sexual attention the sexes receive give rise to female hypergamy. Men have fewer options to choose from, so they're more likely to make compromises and hence end up dating down, which is known as principle of least interest. Online dating app Hinge works similarly to Tinder but was designed with the intent of creating a more equitable and better functioning dating market. However, even on Hinge, evidence for female hypergamy is overwhelming. The distribution of likes women provide is heavily skewed, such that 16.4% of their likes go to the top 1% of men. 41.1% of their likes go to the top 5% of men. 58% of their likes go to the top 10%. And 95.7% of their likes go to the top 50%. This means that only 4.3% of their likes go to the entire bottom 50% of men. Thus, a top 1% man will receive 190 times more likes as a man who is in the bottom 50%. This suggests that women easily reach a very strong consensus on which men are attractive, which detracts from the notion that beauty is subjective. It also suggests that if you are a below average man, the odds of receiving any significant numbers of likes at all or success is quite small. The inequity in the dating market for each gender was further analyzed, and it was found that if the dating markets were considered like financial markets, the dating markets for women would resemble Western Europe, while for men it would resemble South Africa. Researchers conducted a field experiment on Tinder using 24 fictitious Tinder profiles in multiple cities in Flanders, the northern and Dutch-speaking regions of Belgium. These profiles only differed on education levels. Then they collected and analyzed data on 3,600 profiles evaluation to evaluate the extent to which education played a role in matching or dating on the app. To ensure the pictures they used for profiles were similar in attractiveness, they scored 32, 16 male and 16 female, picture on Amazon Mechanical Turk and selected 8 pictures, 4 male, 4 female. That 493 workers on mTurk judged to be similar in levels of attractiveness. Then, to ensure an even more fair evaluation, they attached to each picture 3 different education levels in 3 different cities. They swiped to like 150 times for each profile. Then collected data. Overall, men liked or super liked 61.9% of their female profiles. On the other hand, women only liked 4.5% of the male profiles. Men started a conversation with the female profiles 42.3% of the time, while women only initiated conversation 6.2% with the male profiles. The Tinder study also found some evidence for hypergamy, which they report matched findings from other online dating studies. Namely, women tended to visit more educated men than themselves about twice as often and less educated men only half as often, compared to someone of equal education status. They also found that contrary to the popular notion that men are intimidated by highly educated women, a woman's education level did not significantly change a man's swiping behavior. It was ultimately found that Tinder users do not engage in educationally associative mating patterns as similarly educated people were not more likely to match. Rather, there was only evidence for the existence of female hypergamy. To understand gender differences in Tinder outcomes, researchers created 14 curated profiles for men and women designed to reflect the characteristics of average users. Locations were set to London and New York. They used these profiles to monitor the way others reacted to them, specifically in terms of match and subsequent messaging. Then they liked all profiles possible within a 100-mile radius for all profile accounts. Through the interactions of these 14 profiles, they thereby collected the data on almost 500,000 users. They found the male profile had only 0.67% match rate, while the female profiles had a 10.3% match rate. Thus, in this study, there were 15.4 times as many matches for female profiles as the male. It should be noted that the profiles they used only had a single photo, as they were using copyright-free stock images. In a second study, they used photos of a real woman and a man to compare the effects of having 1 versus 3 photos. They found using 3 photos increased both genders' match rates considerably. In particular, the male profile went from 0.27% match rate to 1.96% match rate, and the female profile went from 18% match rate to 23% match rate. Without seeing these pictures, however, and no control process in their methodology to assess or match attractiveness of the photos, it is difficult to assess the degree to which attractiveness of the photos mediated this process. However, it would certainly imply the possibility that the profiles in the first experiment may have performed better had they incorporated more photos. Journalists from the French newspaper Le Monde performed a dating experiment on Tinder using an average looking man and women, finding that the average match rate for women was 50% and for the men only 2%. Thus, women in this experiment had a 25% times greater match rate than men. This provides evidence for women generally being far more sexually active than men, and shows that most men are never given consideration. However, they also raise the important point that Tinder manipulates male profile visibility, such that the only ways a man profile is shown to women at all is if many other women also like that man, i.e., proving he is very attractive, or the man is paying for boosts or other monetized solutions. They even go so far as to suggest Tinder is intentionally targeting men who can most easily pay for these services to maximize their frustration and thus revenue potential from them. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section. That's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. A like and subscribe would be highly appreciated. And like usual, catch you guys in the next one.